When we look at the devices that make up a wide area network, there's an entire range of devices that can be used. What you have to consider is that any time we must transition from the wide area network site and move over into the local area network, we're going to require a router. We'll notice that there is a router on the backside of all of these connections here, regardless of the type of connectivity I'm using to get across to the wide area network. For example, I may be using the public switched telephone network, sometimes known as POTS, or a modem to make a connection. The plain old telephone system type connection still requires a router to be able to move data back to a LAN on the backside. Although a lot of routers will have integrated or native interfaces for ISDN and frame relay, or even possibly for ATM, I still have to use a router as my primary device to provide the media translation necessary to move between wide area networking technologies and local area networking technologies. Another possible device that's very popular is the CSU-DSU. It's also sometimes called a DSU-CSU. It is a device that is typically always used when we're focused on a frame relay connection or T1 or T3 connections. This device actually provides the line coding necessary for the customer premises equipment to actually communicate with the service provider network. Normally this device is either owned by the customer or owned by the service provider and then simply leased on a monthly basis. But nonetheless, it does terminate the service provider's equipment. We'll also see WAN networking devices like ATM switches, frame relay switches, and PSDN or ISDN switches, which are actually used inside of the WAN service provider cloud. We don't have to worry too much about the things inside of the cloud, although it is a good idea to understand what we're connecting to and how to troubleshoot across the cloud. However, it's usually out of our hands as far as responsibility for being able to change anything in the cloud is concerned. As long as we're getting a connection from the entry point to the exit point and the circuit is up through the wide area network cloud, we should be fine. Also, as long as we understand what's going on at both ends and how to configure and troubleshoot at both ends, we're normally good with what's going on in the cloud. But you do have to sometimes learn a little bit more about what's going on the service provider network. This is because you may, for some reason, have a complex or strange configuration that the service provider may have a hard time dealing with. But most of the time, we go ahead and leave the cloud alone and focus more on the endpoints. That is, the customer premises equipment that we actually own.